What this next generation needs the most is a topic that is often discussed and often with lots and lots of words, and very few people, from my observation, are actually doing anything about it. And that is the topic that we're here to discuss today. Hey everybody, I'm Jonathan Byron. This is the John Byron Show, and this is my good friend, JJ Vancil. Welcome to the show.
John, pleasure to be chatting.
Oh, I love it, man.
Yeah.
I've actually, although we haven't talked about doing this, I've been looking forward to talking to you on the podcast for a long time. And we were talking today, and I was like, you know what? It's time.
It is
And
time. It just happened naturally.
Yeah.
It was like, it's time for a podcast.
Let's
here we are.
Let's do a podcast.
Yeah.
So we are an active discussion about a lot of different things, but I actually really want to talk about Generation Alive and what you guys are doing here in Spokane, and not too much into the history and backstory, but like the nuts and bolts of like what's going on, boots on the ground right now.
Yeah. So here's the deal about Generation Alive. I mean, our heart is to activate youth to live and lead with compassion.
Yeah.
So let me just drill down a little bit of what that means.
Yeah.
We use this word activate because you've heard the word empower,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Power often means, hey, I'm going to give you power.
Right. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have the power, I give it to you, but this idea of activating is really, think about it as it's kind of unlocking what's already there. You know,
I like that.
kids today, they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Right.
They want to give back. They want to have a voice.
Yeah.
They often need a little bit of guidance to help find that, a little confidence, a little nudge. But we really exist to kind of like activate a young person's potential,
Yeah.
help them see themselves as a part of the solution to problems that exist rather than a passive bystander.
Right.
So we say we activate. We look at young people and all we see is potential.
Yeah.
You know, we don't see problems. We don't see kids that are addicted to their phone or overwhelmed with anxiety. Those things might be true,
Right.
but we see potential. We see who they are, what they can become, and it's amazing what happens when you you come alongside of
Yeah.
a young person and begin to speak that truth into their life. They come alive. It's like watering a plant. You know.
So good.
So the other half of our mission is we activate them to lead. We believe them to be leaders, and then lead with compassion, right? When you think about the world today, and anyone viewing this can feel the burden
Yeah.
of the world, right?
Oh.
Whether it's politics,
It's crushing.
whether it's just the news cycle, it's just constant. It's in your face,
Yeah.
right? So how do we actually think about the next generation of leaders being people that live with compassion, live with generosity, live with kindness, live with strength and confidence?
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We activate
Yeah.
youth to live and lead with compassion.
Man, so good. I could almost say podcast over.
Yeah, let's
but
do
I
it.
just
Let's
nailed
do it. Yeah. Save everybody a lot of time. Yeah.
If you're watching this, that's it. You don't need to listen to the rest of it. It's just going to be
Yeah.
us talking. No, it's so good. And there's so many things that, as you were talking about that, I was like, man, like I've heard that slogan, the
Yeah.
activate kids to lead with compassion, so many
Yeah.
times because
Yeah.
I've spent time with
Yeah.
you. I've been around Generation Alive, and just the way that you articulated it there with the three components of it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's even better than it has been before for me.
Yeah.
But something that struck me is that, you know, you guys do this with young people, and that's what our focus is here. But like, we all have that. We all have that. There's this thing inside of us. Now, you know that's one of my passions is like, how do I unlock that in all the humans around us?
Yeah.
And I think that each age group, each demographic has different needs. And so like, I really like talking to people that have retired and have kind of just lived with that like view of, oh, I'm going to work really hard and then I'm just done. And now they're like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah, what's my purpose?
Exactly.
I built my life on working, adding value.
Yeah.
I mean, happiness is often found through problem solving.
Yes.
So if you don't have a problem to solve, it's often you lose purpose.
I agree, and I see it a lot. And
Yeah.
it's really been neat as I've interacted with the population at large, that there are people that are at all of these age demographics that are still engaged, still lit up. I interact with people that are in their 80s, that are, you still see the spark in their eyes, and you know they're doing that. They're problem solving. They're like, What
Adding
else does-
value.
yes.
What else is there to add unless you're solving a problem, right?
And we
So-
see it with the kids, and you guys, that's part of your program that I love, is that you actually partner with the schools
Yep.
to identify those kids that, for lack of a better expression, they already have that. Like, they have that spark.
Yeah,
They have
yeah.
that, like, I want to make a difference. And so you work with those kids
Yep.
closely and then activate them, I love that word, to then go and share that with their peers.
Yep.
To kind of giving them like the
100%.
permission slip, like, hey,
Hey,
you,
it's up to you.
yeah,
You know, one of our core values is giving kids an opportunity to lead.
yeah,
You know, like adults, we got to get out of the way.
I love
Adults
it.
like to control. We like to run it. We
Yeah.
like to, you know, kind of make sure it goes well.
yeah,
But kids, we give them a chance to lead, to discover their potential. They take ownership over this project, so they're solving a problem,
Yeah.
right? And actively addressing a core need in the community, largely around food insecurity is an easy one for kids to really wrap their heads around. And then they take the initiative to solve this problem, and then invite their whole school to solve it with them.
Yep.
And gosh, we as adults have to just stand back, let them do it. They're going to probably fail. They might not do it as well as we'd want them to, right? But in the process, they're going to learn so much about themselves that will be instrumental.
Yeah.
Gosh, hopefully for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Right.
so good. And to just put a little, probably like unnecessary praise your way, like I've said this multiple times, there's a lot of ideas and thoughts and how do we reach this demographic, how do we help these kids? You guys are doing it. And as I've gotten the privilege of participating and being there, boots on the ground, there's things that I see and you and I talk about, I'm like, oh man, like you could do this, there's
Of course,
ideas and how
always.
it could be better.
Yeah.
And I think that oftentimes a lot of us, and I transparently myself, get stuck in our heads like, and it has to be perfect. Even this podcast, like I talk a lot of times, I was like, I want it to be better. It could be better. And if it was left up to me, I would still be thinking about doing a podcast. But I had someone in my life that was like, no, just do it. Just hit go. And that is why we're talking today.
Exactly.
But like you guys are doing it, and it's
Yeah.
so refreshing to see and to come and be a part of it and hear the feedback from parents, from the kids themselves, from the teachers, and
Yeah.
like my kid's school is like so thrilled, and
Right.
other teachers I've talked to, like when they hear about Generation Alive, they're so excited about it.
Yeah.
And you're also still one of the best kept secrets in Spokane.
I know.
I talk to
I
people and
know.
they're like, no, I haven't heard about it. I'm
I
like,
know.
how have you not heard
I
about
know.
this thing?
Well, one of the things we're always going to come up against is that Generation Alive is not a basic needs organization, meaning like there are people right now that are homeless. There's people
Sure.
right now that have, an acute need right now, whether
Right.
it's a medical issue or they're hungry or what. We are in the world of youth development, right? This is an upstream
Yes.
nonprofit, right?
Right.
So it takes a little time for people to get their heads wrapped around the value because, gosh, well, what about all these very, very important key needs right
Sure.
now that that's not our core focus, even though I will say one of the things we make sure we do is we're getting kids involved in meeting those core
Yes.
needs, right? But
Yes.
the real goal is what's happening in the hearts
Yeah.
of kids. I mean, we've if you don't mind me sharing a quick story.
Of course.
And it's
Yeah.
really, it's a metaphor.
Okay.
It's not even a real story. But envision two hikers hiking along this mountain river,
Sure, okay.
this stream. And all of a sudden, there's this massive flow of water and people are floating by. They've fallen into the river and they're drowning.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they rush ahead and they wade into the water and they start pulling people out. And what they don't realize is there's a waterfall. So people they're coming by, and if they go past them, they're falling off the waterfall. And after hours and hours and hours and hours of trying to save people, it just keeps coming.
Yeah.
There's no lack of need in this situation. One of them's like, I'm done, I'm out, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore, right? And the other one's like, what? We got to keep going. And he goes, wait. He's like, no, I can't do it. I've got to head upstream and find out why people are falling in the water.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, man, how many times with the needs that we see, whether it's the fentanyl crisis, whether
Right.
it's the homelessness we see in Spokane, whether it's the fact that in Spokane County alone, there's close to 60,000 people that are food insecure.
Right.
These needs, if you just pour all your energy to just meeting those needs, you never actually move ahead to solving the problem. What is actually happening? And it takes real courage and patience to be able to think that way. For us, we go, man, are we meeting those basic needs on an acute level? Not always, but we're thinking, what's 10, 15, 20 years down the road? What's the leadership of our city going to look like in 20 years, right?
Yeah.
What type of values are our young people building their life on? And if we don't think about those things, we'll just never get out of the river trying to rescue people.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, it's in my mind always like that illustration sort of immediately calls to mind the both and approach, right? Like
Of
we still
course.
need the person that's like, I'm boots
I'm
on the
in,
ground,
yes.
pulling people out, and you go and figure out what's going on.
Yes.
And I love that two things. One, that like you guys are like, this is our lane, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I love that at the same time that you're doing that, an aspect of how you're doing it is still doing the both and.
Trying to, yeah.
You know, you're not solving
No.
food insecurity, but you're helping meet that need,
Yeah.
and in a very meaningful way, which is
Yeah.
just fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's pivot, because one of the things I wanted to talk about, and the reason that we're meeting and having this conversation is a week and a half from now.
Yeah,
you guys
don't
are
remind
having
me.
a pretty big event, which
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking time out of your day, as
Yeah.
busy as that event is,
Yeah.
and all the planning. But
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about the Ignite event, and you know what do we need to know?
Yeah, every year we have our annual kind of fundraiser and auction. I mean, what drives our mission outside of just the core work that we do is the community of people that support and help fuel our work through their generosity.
Yeah.
So every year we host this big auction up at Northern Quest. We call it Ignite because we want it to ignite our mission in beautiful ways. So like I said, we throw a party. This is not your stuffy gala. You don't need to be in a suit and tie, even though I love those. I love dressing up, but we have a ton of fun. We tell the story with precision and emotion and power. We have great auction items. We have, it's a full hosted bar. We feed you, we entertain you, we tell the story, we make you cry, we make you laugh, and we take a lot of pride in this event, and we put a lot of work and energy into making sure that it just perfectly tells the story of who we are. And Jonathan, you've been a part of this event many years, so grateful for that, and grateful for your willingness to step in even further and invite the community into this.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to just speak to that because I have been to these events, and
Yeah.
I've been to fundraisers.
Yeah.
And just transparently, a lot of fundraisers that I've been to are good.
Of
like
course.
you get excited about the cause, but they're not necessarily well done. They're not necessarily
Yeah.
high production level.
Yeah.
There's just kind of a you're maybe looking at your watch like, oh, is it time to go?
I've been
yet?
there. I love these people, but man.
And this is not one of those. This
appreciate
is
that.
this is fun. I enjoy going. There's a real buzz in the room of like-minded people that are at some level it's already supporting Generation Live and behind the vision, and just that energy that gets going in the room. Like I look forward to this every year. And is part of the reason that I am getting involved with this thing that we're doing of bringing the small business community together to even kind of add a little more fuel to it, because it's like, man, like you're a small business and you struggle to hit certain, giving levels. It's like, man, I really want to help out, but and you and I were talking about like a big carrot. It's like I want to be the biggest. I want the small business community to be the biggest sponsor this year, and that's our goal. We're going to hit the big numbers.
Yeah, and that big sponsorship level, just so we're clear, is $25,000.
$25,000.
That's no small chunk of change, but no less doable if you get a mass of people doing a little bit.
Correct. And
right?
we have here in Spokane, we're blessed with such a huge small business community.
Right.
I mean, honestly, if everybody gave $1 that has a small
100%.
business owner, we hit that mark.
We would. And I even think about the power of the small business community. I mean, for one, I see you, who's running a small business, that you carry a burden pretty regularly, but you're the foundation of our community. The innovation, the drive, the product you're offering, the service that you give, the way that you kind of build that foundation of our economy, and that is we want that your community to be so vibrant when our young people graduate, they can join a small business or really tap into their own entrepreneurial pursuits, right? and build value into our community. So we work together, in supporting our young people. Gosh, that's only going to benefit, everybody.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm curious, even just as you said that, like one of the collaborations I'd like to explore is how do we tap into what you're doing with Generation Alive and the small business community in like a mentorship role?
100%.
Because I think that, my son has that entrepreneurial spirit, and
Yeah.
he struggles to do regular school.
Yeah.
And, like for him to have a
Good for
mentor,
him.
seriously. Yeah. And so I enjoy mentoring him as his father, as a business owner, but for him to have other business owners that could also like speak to that in their vernacular, in their context.
Well, there was a beautiful story of a kid in elementary school that just could not sit still. He just always tapping his hands. You've probably seen this video.
Yes. So
and he's a problem kid, right? He gets called down to the principal's office multiple times. He won't, they're like, hey, just sit on your hands. And he's like, I can't, I just got to move my hands. And finally, one day, a teacher said, hey, let's chat after class. And he thinks he's in trouble.
Right.
And sits him down. The teacher basically just, I get chills even thinking about it, just goes, have you ever thought of playing the drums? And he said, pulls out his first pair of drumsticks and hands it to him. And he goes, I don't think you're the problem. I think you're a drummer. And it's this beautiful story because he ends up, basically, his entire life revolves around those drumsticks. He pays for college with drum classes.
Wow.
He's tours with bands all over the world, still to this day. His name's Clint Pulver. And that's one of those, we want to walk alongside those kids too, that aren't necessarily fitting into the mold in the same way. So when you think about small business collaboration, man, like we have over 700 of these leadership students we're working with a year.
Yeah.
Our long-term goal isn't just that they do a cool service project in their school and then check off the box and go, I did it, I'm a good citizen, right? But either what type of vocational life and pursuits will they go through, right?
Yeah.
And how amazing would it be to pair a small business owner with somebody that is excited about photography, or excited about woodworking, or excited about real estate, or excited about coaching, or whatever, and then all of a sudden you've built this beautiful pipeline, really, of our next entrepreneurs. So
yeah, man. Well, I could keep going. Like as you were sharing, like I love the stories that I've heard from your board, from a lot of the different people that support GA.
Yeah.
The more I hear about the ways that you guys see the individual kid.
Yeah.
That and I like that, not empower, but activate. That you see what makes them unique and then activate that in them.
Yeah.
I love it. I could talk for hours.
Let's do it.
I know that you're busy. You've got a lot coming down the pipe, but thank you for coming on the show. And let's do it again sometime.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to put links to where you can get involved in the description of this, and just anything that you can do to help support this cause would be greatly appreciated by myself, by JJ, and we're just man, love what you're doing, man.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Easy peasy.